Petranech is one of the unsung giants of the sport of open water swimming. A humble man with deep-rooted passion for the sport, he has served the sport extraordinarily well, while always looking out for the best interests of the athletes. He understands the sport from the perspective of a swimmer, a coach, a promoter, an official, and an administrator. He has ably and quietly served as the Honorary Secretary of the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame for many decades, and has a deep understanding and appreciation for the history of the sport. He worked for years to get the sport into the Olympics and has spent countless hours in the early mornings, late at night, and on the weekends overseeing and administering domestic and international events. He has escorted marathon swimmers, he has prepared budgets and presentations, and he has swum himself across the Catalina Channel and around Manhattan Island in New York City. Contemporary swimmers stand on the broad shoulders of a selfless man and able administrator, Dale Petranech.
Hello, we're here on Open Water Wednesday with Dale Petranech of New Jersey. Hello, Dale.
Hi, Steve. How are you today?
Good, good. Did we find you at home during this Christmas season?
Well, you sure did. I just got back from my little noonday swim.
Oh, good, good. In the open water or pool?
The pool.
Okay.
It's about I'd say 25 degrees Fahrenheit outside, so that would make the outdoor swimming a little bit rough this time of year.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Dale, you've been involved in open water swimming since the dawn of Olympic time. Can you explain what you've been doing in the sport all these years?
Well, probably the easiest way to do it would be just start out to see how I got involved with the sport and just carry it on there, so I'll just ramble on for a bit. It started out that I started swimming, going over to the local YMCA and swimming a couple laps every noon just for general conditioning. And they said, well, you ought to get involved with the Masters program, which I did, and I did swim a couple Masters races. And then they were having the national AAU convention there in Washington, D.C., so I said, well, I'll go down and see what that's all about. One of the meetings that they were having was on the subject of long-distance swimming. I've never even heard of it or saw of it, so I walked into the meeting and started asking so many questions about it, and I'm trying to figure out what it was all about, that they thought I had a real interest in it, and I was elected the national vice chairman of the committee of an event that I've never seen.
Okay.
So,
what year was this?
Then on the way out of the meeting, Glenn Hummer, who was an Olympic coach, and not really an Olympic coach, an Olympic developed several Olympic swimmers, says, I've been trying to get rid of this job for the last 20 years. I'm glad to see we got an assistant. I just resigned, so I became the national chairman of the under the AAU of open water, long distance swimming event that I've never seen. So it was just a learning process from there, trying to find out what was happening, how it was happening. At that time, there were only one event, the national championship, which was a 3-mile cable swim for women and a 4-mile for men. And we just slowly started getting involved in other aspects of it and trying to add events and try to do other things. About that time, the AAU asked me, he said, you got about $300 in your kitty for expenses here, and we just received a request from Penny Dean and Mary Beth Copel, who are swimming a race over in Lake Windermere, and they'd like to try to get a little support from us. How do you feel about it? I said, yeah, why not? So we gave both Penny and Mary Beth, I think, $100 toward their expenses for Lake Windermere International. So that started out our international program as such, and we decided, well, we ought to try to hold an international race. So we went together, and we finally decided with Penny that we would reorganize the old Wrigley swim across the Catalina Channel, which we did, and we had probably five or six countries in it: Great Britain, Egypt, United States, Czech Republic. I think we're about the main countries there. Australia was kind of interesting because we wanted to Shelley Taylor Smith was attending college in the States at the time, but the Australian governing body said, no, we don't recognize open water swimming, and so we're not going to authorize her to swim in that particular race. So she was unable to swim, and then a couple years later, well, they did start recognizing it, and she became the first world champion at 25 kilometers, an event that was held over in Australia. Following that event, I got together with some of the people that were there, which were the Roger and Val Parsons, Yaroslav Novak from Czechoslovakia, and we decided we really ought to try to get into the Olympics. And our idea at the time was to try to form our own open water international committee, and then apply to the Olympic Committee for admission into the Olympics. Well, talked to Bob Helmick about it, who was then the president of the U.S. Olympic Committee, and the International Olympic Committee also, I think. And he said, no, the only way that you can do it is to go through your national federation, and they're the only ones that FINA will recognize, and FINA will be making recommendations to the body. So that's the way we proceeded. We got together and wrote up a couple papers saying we really ought to be doing something internationally. Our major problem at the time was that we were all amateurs, and the bulk of the competition of any other event was the professionals, because they did have their own professional circuit dating back to the 1920s, I think it was, or 1930s anyway. And so we tried to maintain that we were going to be an amateur type of activity, which created some problems within the existing national governing bodies. But anyway, we just eventually sorted all that out, and they had appointed a committee to study open water swimming and see what we can do as far as trying to become a FINA sport, which they did. And that committee consisted of, well, who was it? It was Roger Parsons, Dennis, no, that was another one. Steve Sabre from Egypt, Novaks from Czechoslovakia, myself, and Ricards from Australia. So they formed, and we eventually got the bid, and one thing led to another. They eventually became a subcommittee of the Technical Swimming Committee, and then eventually became an own committee within FINA, the Technical Open Water Swimming Committee. So that's about how we got to the point of hosting world championships and events under the auspices of the of FINA, and become world championship event.
Just for our listeners, you
right.
actually skipped over, or you summarized about 20 to 30 years of open water swimming history. And I just want to put a historical perspective on this, and I'm going to suggest some years, and you correct me. When you were walking out of that infamous meeting with Glenn Hummer, where he handed over the keys to the open water swimming kingdom to you, was that about mid-70s?
I think it was about 77, 78, or 79.
Okay. And then
it was about the same year that Penny Dean set the record for the both the Windermere swim. She finished second in that one. Mary Beth beat her, and that was the same year that she sent the record for the English Channel that held up for 20 years for both men and women.
Okay, so that would have been 1978.
Right.
And then you also mentioned that you, with United States Swimming, organized an international race across the Catalina Channel, and that must have been in the mid-'80s?
I think that was 1984, I think.
Okay.
Because I think it was about the same year as they held the Olympics.
Okay. And that, if memory serves me right, that record by the U.S. national team still stands for a relay record across the Catalina Channel.
Yeah, they also went on one of their trips to Great Britain. They also set the English Channel record for the record, both single and a double that it still holds.
Wow. Do you recall who was on that team?
I can give you a couple. Sid Cassidy was surprising. He went over to his coach and decided that he needed an extra swimmer, so he came out of retirement.
Okay.
I think that John York, Chad Hundeby, Martha Hahn, and I think Karen Burton.
Wow.
And I'm missing one.
Okay, so you had you had at least 5 International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame inductees on that relay. So it is a wonder that they still hold the record after all these years. Wow. And then approximately what year did you and your colleagues from the Czech Republic and Egypt and Australia begin the study to include?
Well, that was about 1986.
Okay.
The first World Championships were in 1990.
Okay.
And there were a couple of races over in Lake Windermere before that. And Lake Windermere, as you know, was the premier amateur race in the world at the time.
Yeah. Can you explain that to our listeners?
Well,
about the British long distance swimming.
Well, the British long distance swimming was very, very active and has had a whole series of races within Great Britain that just a great program. And they have what they call the Lake Windermere International, which is a 25-kilometer race which they held every 4 years. Might add that the USA Swimming sent the first fully funded team to that event, and you can tell me what year that was, Steve. If you were on the team that and you actually won the race, so that was what year?
1982.
Okay, 1982. So we were. That was the year we got started. So it was a couple years after that would make it about 84 that we were doing most of this other stuff.
Yeah. And throughout your time, both pre-FINA and post-FINA, you were able to rub shoulders with many of the greats in our community, both swimmers and coaches and authors, etc. Can you explain who you have met throughout the years?
Well, one of the interesting ones, when I went over to the race in Egypt to act as a FINA official, Abu Heif was very, very active, and he's just a personality that you just can't believe. Here again, Abu Heif probably was the greatest marathon swimmer in history. He just had a knack of going out and swimming with the pack, and then at the last mile, 2 miles, he'd just shoot ahead. And when he had races across Lake Michigan of 60 some miles plus, and other events. So swims up and down the Nile that were just unbelievable.
And he was multilingual.
Oh yes, he multilingual. Most of the Egyptians, for some reason, well, for very obvious reasons, they were part of the French at one time. Under the French, they were under the British rule, so they were usually fluent in both French and English. He was also an officer in the Egyptian army and was very, very influential in doing so. He's voted the International Swimming Hall of Fame's longest distance swimmer of the first half century.
Wow.
So last half century.
Did you recall any particular anecdotes or conversations that you had with him that you can share with our listeners?
Well, just that he was a tremendous eater. I think the highlights of the thing is when we shared Buck Dawson's apartment when he was coming over for the ceremony, and he went out and he was very fond of chicken, so he must have ordered from Kentucky Fried Chicken in the local local supermarket at least 25 chickens.
Wow!
and
he ate during the race.
Well, he'd eat them in the race also. They had the Lake Windermere, not Lake Windermere, Lake. What a funny thing of it, Lake Latuque. Latuque, that's it. Yeah, which is a 24-hour race. Each swimmer would jump in, swim a share a race until he got tired, and then he'd come out, and then another swimmer would go in and swim. And usually they swam about a mile at a time, or 3 laps around the race. Abu Heif's mate and decided that, well, he wasn't going to be swimming because he wanted to save himself for the next week. So I think out of the 24 hours race of racing, the other swimmer swam probably about 6 hours, and Abu Heif swam about 18. And wow. They naturally won the race going away. But that's he's just a tremendous swimmer and a real personality. Married an opera singer, and just world respected. And one of the things that I can always remember him saying, he said, you just tell him that Abu Heif said that this is the way we were going to be doing it. And the race managers and everybody else usually called out to him, and he did exactly what Abu Heif wanted to do.
Got it.
Which would usually win the race.
Yeah. And you knew many other greats. Obviously Penny Dean, Conrad Wenenberg. Yeah,
well, when they decided one time when I was getting fairly active here that the people in the International Swimming Marathon Hall of Fame decided that they'd like me to come along and be the secretary. And at the time, that consists of Dennis Matouche, Kevin Murphy, who was in there a long time, Commander Forsberg, and who else? Buck Dawson, and then always behind the scene and all that thing was Bob Dunkel, who is presently on our present committee also. But and then it was our job to try to make this thing grow and try to my sketch on the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame was its formation. It was started way back, actually 2 years before the International Swimming Hall of Fame. And it was started primarily to recognize the professional swimmers because both the International Swimming Hall of Fame and FINA could not recognize anything that was a professional. So they formed the organization trying to recognize their own, and they became part of the International Swimming Hall of Fame, and they remained a committee of that particular organization until just very, very recently when we decided to try to do things our own. And the main reason we did that, not because we were not satisfied with what the Hall of Fame was doing for us, but they just could not. We wanted to grow a little bit more than they had the money to do, and we didn't really think it was fair to ask them to keep putting out money for something that we should be doing on our own. So that was our main reason for trying to develop our own organization.
Got it. So, so you were a member of USA Swimming,
right?
FINA, and the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame. You seem to have your hands in many pies.
Well, there weren't that many people that did, and most of us did have our hands in all the whole thing here. Yes, and I think it was one led right into the other, and when you I keep telling you, if you want something done, you give it to a busy person. So,
yeah.
And here again, the main thing was that I think everybody has their own reason for doing things, and mine was to probably get some of the recognition that I wasn't getting at work.
Got it.
Everybody else is promoted except me, but so then I said, well, I got to give them recognition one way or the other. Yeah. And then I did swim a couple races also. I did swim on the initial around Manhattan Island swim, where they brought the event back as a race, and then I did make Catalina.
Was that in the early 80s or late 70s?
That was mid 80s.
Okay. And then you also, I guess, rubbing shoulders with all these marathon swimmers, you decided to do some channel swimming yourself.
Right, and tried to do a little bit. And Catalina, I did Catalina, and I said, well, if I can make that, I probably would have a fairly decent chance of making the English Channel. But finances and other things were there. my father-in-law says, well, seeing you're such a good swimmer, he says, I'll sponsor you to the English Channel to go on over there and swim it. And I said, well, do you have any idea how much money you're talking about? And, when I brought in this fact that you had to be over there, you really should be over there if you're going to make a serious attempt for about a 3 weeks training, plus the possibility of being extended, like what's her name was Diana Nyad doing her trip from Cuba this year, where they just waiting for the better water conditions where you can't just jump in and swim the English Channel. Things got to be right. Plus the fact that the boats, your expenses over there, hotels and so on. And I said, back in the time, I said, you're talking about $10,000. And my father-in-law says, well, maybe I spoke a little bit too fast, but I don't know. And my thing was that I was always borderline hypothermic. I would hit the hypothermia kind of level, and that's a 2 or 3 degrees in the Channel. I'm not real sure, looking at it objectively, whether or not I would have made it. But I think I would have. But it's.
And there, speaking about hypothermia, actually, in Penny Dean's book, she has a very, or I recall it to be a very well-known photo of you wrapped up in towels, and this was after the Catalina Channel swim, correct?
Yeah.
Do
you
recall?
And here again, I was hypothermic, quite hypothermic. I didn't feel badly. Okay. I was able to fight through it, and had the mental conditioning that you need to go through those mentally. But my favorite story there is with John York, when he was trying his double Catalina. He also got hypothermic right near the end of the race. Just put his head down and started swimming for the shore without going to bound to breathe. So they pulled him up, took him to the hospital, and for some reason or other he recovered very, very rapidly. But the hospital psychiatrist came into him and came with the following remark: John, did you have any extra body sensations while you were dead? which would be enough to shake almost anybody up.
Yeah.
And here again, I think that you want to stress open water swimming can be a very, very dangerous activity, either with the water temperature being warm or cold. You have to have a team of people watching you at all times, especially in the longer events. You want a good navigator to make sure you swim the right course. You want a coach that knows what swimming is all about. Necessary safety people and so on. So it's not really just a one person doing the thing. It is a real team effort, and everybody has a place, and everybody's got to do their job if a swimmer is going to be successful and safe. Right along that other line, Penny Dean had a swimmer where she was escorting at Lake Windermere, and she was a very, very good swimmer from Mission Viejo. I think Flo Baker. And she got within about a mile of the finish and was winning by about a mile and a half. And she began to panic a little bit due to her hypothermia. Penny just reached down, touched her, and disqualified her, pulled her out, and she said, well, you can always swim another race. But here again, it can be very, very serious. And here again, if you have a coach like Penny or other people that do know what they're doing, these accidents can and should be preventable.
Yeah. And as you've traveled around the world, you've always shared with me very interesting stories, like the time someone asked you about the sharks in Swan River in Western Australia, and what was your response to them?
Well, the Czechoslovakian swimmer came up to me, and Miguel, he said, Dale, I'm very, very concerned because, this Swan River, where we're holding the race here, leads right out into the Indian Ocean. I said, yeah, Miguel, that's true. He said, well, now, we're very concerned. Why, what's the problem? He said, well, I'm concerned during the race, one of these sharks might swim up the run up the river and disturb our race. I said, Miguel, you don't have a thing to worry about there. You won't have any problem with the sharks swimming up the river because the crocodiles eat them all.
Yeah. And then you've also been the Honorary Secretary of the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame for many years, doing a yeoman's job of keeping track of award winners, managing the nomination process, the induction ceremonies, etc. Can you explain to our listeners what exactly the International Swimming Hall of Fame does and its mission and how it nominates?
It has several missions. Number one is to promote the sport of marathon swimming throughout the world and try to recognize the world leaders in marathon swimming. It's a Hall of Fame, so anybody that that has been a little bit above average or more than above average, we want the very best swimmers, marathon swimmers in the world, to be recognized. Not only the swimmers, but their coaches, escorts, and so on. It takes a whole team of people to do things. And several clubs have also been honored. But what we're looking for is the nominations come in to our board of directors, which are 25 people, world experts from throughout the world, marathon swimmer experts from throughout the world, everywhere from Russia, South Africa, Australia, United States, Canada, Argentina, and they all vote on the nominations. People are nominated. Anybody can nominate anybody for the honor, and then we'll put them on the ballot and with a little explanation of what their skills are and so on. I might add that you have opened a website now, and that all these past winners, all the past recipients of the award the honorees have been there. We also have a certificate of merit that is given to people that do not quite qualify for the marathon honoree, and those are honored. Now, in order to become an honoree, we do have some requirements. Like we want them to be a couple years after retirement. So we just don't have a person that is continually being nominated, and every year. And once a person is nominated, they stay on the ballot for at least 10 years. And then at that time they may be either if they're not selected within that time, well, they can be renominated for additional time. And one of the strange ones that we have that then we also make nominations to the International Swimming Hall of Fame for our very, very best marathon swimmers to become part of that body, and those will include the who's who in the sport. Right now, I think we have 25 members or so that have been selected by the Swimming Hall of Fame. We ran into a slight problem a couple years ago that there's been a gap of about 15-20 years where nobody was selected because of the professional rules that the Hall of Fame was observing also. So we have a gap of things, and we're playing catch up in that respect. But a couple of people, like Matthew Webb was the first person to swim the channel. Penny Dean, Lynn Cox, Abu Heath, just to name a couple. Now, the person that is not on that list that I think should be is our friend from Canada, the first person to swim the Catalina Channel. He won that race.
Yes, George Young.
George Young, right? And he should be there. He's in on the nomination, and we're trying to nominate him every year to try to get him, and he's going to make it one year. This year, Kevin Murphy's arch rival, Mike Reed, who they're taking turns swimming the English Channel the most times, and presently Kevin Murphy is leading that particular race, but Mike Reed is right behind him, and he's doing a great job with the Channel Swimming Association, and there's two international organizations that conduct the competition across the English Channel: the Catalina Swimming Association and the Channel Swimming and Pilots Federation. And both of them do an outstanding job of making sure that the swims are properly observed, and that all the safety standards are met, and just to make sure that every swimmer has an opportunity to do something. And both of them are loaded with support people from boat captains to observers to safety people to coaches and so on. So both of them, if you're going to swim this channel, you contact one of those two organizations. They're going to fill you in, and you're going to be well able to do it.
Yeah, it must be difficult to make a decision between someone, for example, who's very fast, like a Paul Asmuth or John Kinsella, who have proven themselves to be tremendously quick swimmers, setting records and winning races, and then people who just never get out, like a Kevin Murphy or a Michael Reed. Right. How do you balance the?
Well, we try to include some of those swimmers that they can be. We're looking for two classes of swimmers, as I call them, the racers and the soloists. So the racers are this Paul Asmuth and John Kinsellas and that type of person, and then we have the solo swimmers that some of them are pretty fast also, I might add. You have a swimmer like Claudio Plitt, who is definitely a racer. Then you have David Udevin, who will probably be elected one. He's in the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame, but he swam solo races all over the world, and due to health reasons and so on. And he's not the fastest swimmer in the world. And
someone like David is a totally different breed. I mean, he does a lot of swims that have never been done before.
Right.
And that requires a whole different kind of mentality, correct?
Well, a different mentality and a different knowledge of water currents and so on. And here again, it goes to this team thing. I keep mentioning, that you need a good navigator. And here again, one of our board of directors, Tim
Johnson.
Tim
Johnson.
Tim Johnson. There we go. I'm drawing a mental blank here. He's probably the great. He charts all the waters for the Catalina, for the Manhattan Island swim, and he's able to predict exactly just about how fast a person is going to swim it. And here again, I think with swimming with the current, the way that the Manhattan Island swim does, you can come very, very close. And surprisingly, it helps a mediocre swimmer much more than it does a better swimmer. Because like when I swam around Manhattan, I swam the 31 miles within 45 minutes of Paul Asmuth. Well, if that was a legitimate 31-mile swim, Paul would be long finished and I'd still be swimming. So it's the currents do help the mediocre swimmers a lot more than they do the bit more qualified swimmer.
Yeah, and the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame, it isn't limited to only swimmers, correct? It's pilots and coaches.
Oh no. Anybody, we have the swimmer, the pioneers that can be either a swimmer or an administrator, and then we have the administrator. Now the administrators, we just clump into everything. They're from coaches, navigators, escorts, you name anybody that is in support of a swimmer that has done an outstanding job is also subject to it. Plus clubs, we have a couple clubs like the
New York.
Ones that are going in this year. We've already accepted the Catalina. The Channel Swimming Association, the Catalina Swimming Association, the New York Swimming Association, and the Rottnest Island Swim will all be going in as honorees for this year. One that we missed over the period of times was the Lake St. John group up in Canada have been running a professional race for many years, and they were more or less grandfathered in by a special rule that we passed a couple years ago that we missed them until this year. Anybody that wins the Davis Wheeler Award. Now, the Davis Wheeler Award is something that I didn't mention yet. Is a special award that was donated originally by the New England Marathon Swimming Association, and they have a nice little silver plaque, and we present it every year to the swimmer. I mean, to the administrator that has done the most for the sport within the last year, the last couple of years, and so on. And we're always looking for people that have really shown a little bit above and beyond this year. We might add that this year's winner is a guy by the name of Steve Munatones, who has done an outstanding job with all of his projects that he's been working on, and he'll be recognized with the Hall of Fame, International Swimming Hall of Fame banquet in May.
Well, good to hear. Thank you very much for that plug. And then getting back to the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame nominations, you mentioned that anybody can make a nomination. So essentially they just go to a website, the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame website, and fill out the forms and send them to you. Is that correct?
Right, And then we'll take the ball from there. The next step is that we send it over to the person that's doing all our tabulations, Chris Giesen from Australia, and he'll prepare the ballot and write a little biography on each swimmer and get it into the thing so we can vote intelligently on it. And then from there they're selected and we're nominated, and if selected, they will be putting into the. Presently, I think we have about 10 people that are on the nomination list or on the ballot that we're awaiting selection for various reasons and so on. And once a person makes it to the ballot, like I say, they stay on it for 10 years. So the chance of being selected once you're nominated is usually pretty good.
Yeah, and then the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame, that definition itself, marathon, has taken various distances over the years, correct?
Yeah, well, it started out coinciding with the World Professional Marathon Swimming Federation's definition of anything over 10 miles. Then when FINA got involved in it, we upped it up to 25 kilometers. And the reason that our original committee, when we were making the FINA rules, we decided that we wanted somebody that could not step right from the swimming pool into open water. In an open water event, they had to do a little bit of special training and get out of the pool and do a little open water training also. So that's the reason we selected 25 kilometers. Recently, within the wisdom to get more people involved and other reasons, both political and factual, to try to get the event into the Olympics, they reduced the Olympic distance to 10 kilometers. So we said, well, if everybody else in the world is calling a marathon swim 10 kilometers, we'll do the same. So we'll do the same thing. And so our rule now is that any swim for consideration has to be at least 10 kilometers.
Yeah.
Now we don't want to be drawing a line in the sand and say, well, that wasn't 10 kilometers, so it can't be on. You take a swimmer like Lynn Cox, who at one time held the record for the English Channel and did several other very long swims and very good swims, and then but she's best known for her mile-and-a-half swim in the lake. I mean, across the Bering Strait, and her mile-and-a-half swim down in the Antarctic Ocean. And so we will recognize swimmers that have done other things, and that has to be part of the recognition ceremony also. The other category that we're just getting into with the GPS, being able to identify exactly where a person is in the water would be we call a what do we call it? A sequence swim, or where they swim so much each day.
Stage swims.
Yeah. And so there's a swim maybe 10 miles the first day, 10 miles the second day, for a total. And there have been attempts to say, well, we're swimming across the Atlantic Ocean. Well, that could be done as long as they have some verification of that the start and finishing point of each swim. So that's can get rather technical. And then the other thing that we do within the Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame is anybody that wants to record their swims for our records. We will take that information as far as what their swim was, any distance under any conditions, and try to get it in, and to try to make a record of it. A lot of the swims across the Caribbean have been in shark cages and in wetsuits, which for the purist, we would not recognize that as being a legitimate swim. But as far as the recognition of them being able to swim it and to set as a goal for other people to attempt swims in a more legitimate way, or to try to have a record of what we're doing, we will recognize swims in wetsuits and shark cages and in other artificial means. But here again, that's all part of the record that is recorded of their swims. And I think right now we have about, probably 150 swims that we have recognized. And we also want to we don't want to recognize any swim that another organization has an interest in. Like if they swim around Manhattan Island, that's the Manhattan Island swimming. If they swim across the English Channel, that's the English Channel Association's rules. If they swim some up and down the Mississippi between 2 points, that would be the type of swim that we're interested in. Or anybody that does not have a jurisdictional control over a particular swim, those are the swims we're trying to recognize.
Got it.
And a lot of those are first-time swims.
Got it.
Penny Palfrey has probably a whole record of those, and you can probably explain that better than I can.
Yeah. And then when people who are not inducted in the Hall of Fame, but they do receive a certificate of merit, is that actually can you explain what they actually receive?
Yeah, it's a smaller certificate, and it's full. It's all in a little blue certificate holder, and that is given to them. And here again, we try to get those on an annual basis, and try to for what it is. And it can be something as simple as they were recommended by a body for a particular swim, going way back in history. We have one on the books right now for somebody who was the first person to swim the San Francisco Bay. So back in the 1900s. So we're presenting her with her family with the certificate. One time, anybody that won a FINA event, World Cup event, was given a certificate. We have got away from that because we figured that FINA should be recognizing their own swimmers, giving the awards for that particular thing, either by medals or trophies or whatever you have. And then anybody that would be doing an outstanding job of swimming an unusual body of water, well, we can provide them with a certificate there also.
And then it is a responsibility of the person who's nominating to provide you with all of the details of the swim. Where.
As much as possible. And here again, or the contact that particular person for additional information. And we'll go out and try to get it. One of the things we ran into just recently is that somebody recognized a very, very good swimmer. We can get a little information as far as some of his swims, but we don't have the slightest idea where he is. So
okay.
we want to, if a person is being nominated, we want to be able to contact that person or their family, if they're deceased or what have you, to make sure that we if they are accepted, that we can get the awards to them.
Yeah, and you also have a category called pioneer swimmers. Can you explain that?
That is anybody that did something, and we just shoot from the hip and say about 50 years. It's actually 40 years, but it's anybody that has done something way back when that was never recognized at that particular time that we're doing right now. That was the swimmer that I just described here. That we accepted him as being an honoree, but we don't know where he is. And we do so. We do have the pioneer swimmer, and this is a model right after the swimming International Swimming Hall of Fame that has a whole class for pioneer swimmers also, and so we're just trying to duplicate what they're doing, and that we're not going to find every somebody to nominate every year on that, but when we do find a person, well, we want to make sure that we do nominate. Then the other thing that we do is when we get a really truly great swimmer, we want to nominate them for the International Swimming Hall of Fame, and we will make a little write-up for that and try to get them nominated for their honors also. And as these swimmers become available, we recognize their skills and so on. We want to try to get them recognized. Like I said, there's been a gap of about 15 swimmers that I think probably should be in the International Swimming Hall of Fame that are not, due to various reasons and so on, that it's slowly but surely we'll catch up. But it's an uphill battle, and my philosophy there is that I want to try to recognize the record setter. I mean the record setter rather than record breaker. By an example of that, let me see if I can think of one. Like I would much rather have a. Let me think of the names here. Well, to put it in a swimming pool, I would much rather see Mary Maher go in before the relay swimmer here.
Jenny Thompson.
Jenny Thompson, right. So if they're going to be coming in, I like the older swimmers more. The purpose that set the records to go in first before the record breakers, and that's not always easy to do. And here again with the committee, the committee that votes on that is just a whole series of people knowledgeable in all aquatic sports, and that is controlled by the International Swimming Hall of Fame, and they have an extensive list. And even to be nominated to make the final ballot, there's just one representative from each discipline, and I represent the marathon or open water swimming crew. And I want to emphasize also that for the Swimming Hall of Fame, it's an open water class. It's not marathon swimming, so you would be able to get a good mile swimmer or a good 5 kilometer swimmer in there, so they don't have to swim the marathon distance.
Yeah, and
anybody can nominate people there. It goes into the nomination pool. They sort out the people that they want for the final ballot.
Got it. And the people who are inducted, there is a special ceremony, and can you explain how that has been to date?
Well, what we're doing, first of all, for the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame, we try to get them at a central location and try to almost exclusively in the past it has been at the International Swimming Hall of Fame. Presently, we're taking it on the road and with other races and so on, other events, trying to spread it out to try to make it well known throughout the entire world. So we will be moving from location to location hereafter. But basically, what we're looking for is the person to show on up and receive their award, which usually consists of a certificate, a little medallion, a lapel pin, and a green sash that indicates that they are a member of the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame. It was worn almost exclusively down at for the Swimming Hall of Fame ceremonies, but we will be expanding on that a little bit also.
Okay, and then you've been so involved in the 20th century. And open water swimming seems to, especially marathon swimming, seems to just be booming in the 21st century. If you had to look forward 100 years or 90 years, what do you foresee in this century?
Well, just we'll continue to grow. The other thing is that with the water quality and water temperatures and so on, we're going to have major changes. More and more people are going to realize that they can't get into a swimming pool when they want to. So the oceans and the lakes, rivers, and other places are going to be the places to swim. You are going to probably see a great increase in the Olympic activities. You've already have it in two activities, both within the triathlon and the marathon swim or 10K swim. I would look for distances to be added to that particular event or cut down also. So I would look probably for a 5K to probably get in there, and maybe we can finally get the 25K or the real marathon type race back in. One of the reasons that they also decided on the 10K rather than 25K was the fact that you didn't need as many support people, because almost with the 25-kilometer event, really just if you swim laps the way that they're doing now, it was a point-to-point race, and you really needed a boat or a boat escort with all the coaches and everything else. So it increased the numbers of people that they wanted that were necessary to conduct that particular type of a race. And so that is one of the reasons that it was the 10K distance was selected also. And here again, I would much rather prefer the longer distance, but I don't want to argue with success either, because the 10K is a very, very popular distance now, and I think it'll continue to grow. And I just can't see the other sport not continuing to grow. One thing that I think we did not touch on is that very, very shortly on the website, the National Marathon Swimming website, we're going to be offering memberships to in various classifications to various people that want to become part of the body, both for financial support, which is a biggie right now. Because when we elected to go our own way, well, we have assumed a lot of financial responsibilities that the International Swimming Hall of Fame was providing us in the past. So we are going to be looking at trying to increase our budget, and the more money that we can bring in, the more we can expand our programs to do things that we want to do. The one thing that you mentioned probably is your open water pedia, where we're trying to get everything that has ever been said or written about open water swimming into a central location, so it can be used as a resource for everybody trying to think, both the swimmers, the organizations, the equipment used, and so on. And so we want to try to promote that, that'll be something that will be coming both down the line. And International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame may not be running the thing entirely, but we surely will be supporting it.
Yeah, well, Dale, you've left a tremendous legacy, and there are literally hundreds of thousands of people around the world who may not know that you've been instrumental over these last 30, 40 years, but you are, and on behalf of everybody, I'd just like to thank you publicly for all the quiet work that you do, undoubtedly late at night, during your lunch break, early in the morning, on the weekends, during the holidays, and thank you very, very much.
Well, I enjoy doing it, and it's something that should be done, and we recognize more swimmers, we'll get more people involved in it, the better off we're going to be. And it'll be coming also. The present-day coaches, now that it's an Olympic event, will be looking at it also toward trying to get some of their better swimmers into that particular event, as opposed to just the pool also. So that's another positive thing.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much, Dale. We are going to have you back on Open Water Wednesday as we get closer to next year's induction ceremony, and it will be fun.
Good.
So thank you very much.
Glad to do it, and thank you for everything.